What's up, guys? Park here, and today I want to sit down for a few minutes and respond to a comment that was left on a previous video of mine and actually go into a little bit more detail, and hopefully that's the last time I'll say it, on details. What I am looking for here and what I want to do for you guys, and an idea that was actually thrown out to me, is as a raid leader, I want to go through how I would, go through details as I'm raiding. What are the things that I'm looking for? What are the things, how do I have things set up so that I can get the data that I need? So first and foremost, I do want to go through a couple of things just so you guys know. This is the data from an LFR Mistress Sazine fight on my Frost Mage. Obviously, you guys can see her here. That is probably, LFR at least, the best way to collect a wide disparity of data. You can see already on the screen here people that are doing lots of DPS, people that are doing not so good DPS, and we're going to see very quickly here as I go through some of these things that if you have things set up, details will tell you exactly what you need to know. Now, I also want you guys to know that we're going to be doing this live, just like we do the add-on videos, meaning you're going to hear me click around and stuff. You're going to hear me move around, and that is because I want to go through and show you guys, as I'm going through it in a real-time scenario, the things that are standing out to me, the things that I'm looking at, etc. So, with all that being said, one of you guys, a viewer, a subscriber by the name of Blacklist, and I'm going to call her out because I actually want to give her a big kudos, a big thank you to her and the people like her that have left ideas and comments and things like this on the channel saying, hey, and like she did, I think it'd be really cool if you went through details and as a raid leader showed me what you're looking at. Thank you. These are the things that I love doing more so than any other video, because I want to give you guys and I want to provide to you guys the content that you guys want to see. So thank you. Now, with that being said, let's dig into it here. This is details on the right side of the screen. If you guys are unsure how to set up details, what the deal is with it, watch the previous video that I did last week. That will give you almost every single option as we go through them, shows you how to set it up. And like I've mentioned before, if you have not taken about 20-30 minutes, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more, to configure and set things up the way you need it, then you run very seriously the risk of looking at the data here and making some very poor calls. We've talked about decisiveness. We've talked about making calls and cutting people off and sitting people and whatnot. And these are tools that will allow you to, that will assist you in making these decisions, and they will back you up. However, if you are not pulling the right data, you're going to make yourself look like an idiot. And I want to say that first and foremost, that if you do not have this data properly configured, if you're not looking at it, and the majority of it is not it being configured, it's reading it properly, you will make yourself look like a fool, and we do not want that as leaders, right? So with all that being said, I want to show you first and foremost cool feature for details. I think I showed it last week, but by default, you're going to be on damage done. If we right click, this pulls up our bookmarks. Now, we did a couple of these before the video. We did a couple of these on last week's video, but if we click here where it says add bookmark, you guys can see here a couple of plugins that we have, but you can see here that we could do, raids generated, whatever. So you can do various different things. You can show the amount, who's rezzing people, who's being lazy and who's actually contributing, debuff uptime, whatever. We'll go through all that stuff. So you can set these up to however you want to set them up. That, first and foremost, is something that you need to include into that 20 to 30 minute setup window. You need to set up your bookmarks. There's no question about it. So once you have your bookmarks set up the way you want to see them, I'm going to go through the ones that I use and what I'm looking for. So if we go to damage done, we can very easily see here, who is doing how much damage, and we can compare them against other players. So we look at the Boomkin Druid right here, Balanced Druid, doing a whopping 1.44 million DPS. Amazing. But if we scroll all the way down to the bottom here, and we're going to try to, okay, so I was hoping we could expand it out a little bit, probably something in the options. So we look at something like Purplish, or this Destruction Warlock, or this Affliction Warlock, or even this Assassination Rogue. We can see here DPS really isn't that great compared to some of these guys. You know, the top third here are doing significantly more DPS than the bottom third. So as a raid leader, this is a very quick representation of who I need to cut, who needs to sit for the night, who isn't paying attention, who isn't awake, who isn't doing what they've been, their job. Now, this isn't the tell-all, and I want you guys to understand that you need to be able to reference several pieces of data. So I'm going to get to that in a minute, but I don't want you guys to go, oh, well, Purplish here, and we're going to pick on him. He's doing, 138k DPS, so sit him. Is there a reason for it? Did something happen? Is something going on? We'll get to that because there is a reason for it. Spoiler alert, it's his own damn fault. But that you shouldn't just look at the DPS numbers. You shouldn't just look at one set of numbers and make calls off of that. So as you guys can see, as we hover over their specialization icon, we can see that technically, obviously, Balanced Druid here is his talents. Retribution Paladin 907, Hunter 904, blah 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 blah. This is really cool if you want to compare yourself, and we'll compare me against Shiver. He's 920, I'm 908, so he's 12 item levels higher than me, and he's doing 140k DPS more than me. Now, admittedly, I'm a little rusty, but he did more DPS than me. So you can easily see, what are the spec, what are the talents, is there a difference between the two? Well, yeah, he was taking a couple of different talents than me. So you can easily see, exactly what's going on here. You can also see, if we look, the targets. So we can see that technically here, that 56% of his damage that he has done has been on the ads. This is a very quick and probably not my preferred way of seeing, and most definitely not my preferred way of seeing how much damage a player is doing to ads. There are other sets of data that we can pull from, but you can very quickly see, okay, we'll pick on Purplish again. Let's pick on this Destruction Warlock instead. So, 11% of his damage. Or we look at the, what was that, Assassination Rogue, and we go 3% of his damage was on the ads. 9% of this mage's damage was on the ads. Not good. They're either not switching in the case of the Rogue, which my understanding, and Rogues, correct me if I'm more than likely wrong here, Assassination is really not a multi-target. Well, that was a little frightful. Okay. Not a multi-target spec. So that's an excuse for him, but the mage really, there's no excuse, because you should have the talents that cleave. So whatever, we can see what's going on here. So if we actually, I'm not going to right click. If we click on Shiver here, so I want to look at what's going on. I want to compare him. So we go to compare against the other mages. So we can see here, who is doing what. So Zero and Shiver here both have Glacial Spike. I'm not running it. And we can see here how much damage and what's going on. So as far as spells go, we're all casting, and doing percentage-wise about the same amount. You can see here, we're all ebb and bolting about the same. We're all blizzarding about the same. We're all glacial eruption about the same. We're all unstable magic about the same. I would wager this is a gear issue. But if we do something like the two marksmanship hunters, so I'm hoping we'll see a difference. They both have murder crows, so they're pretty much the same as well. And you can very quickly see here if there's any huge disparity. So I'm trying to find somebody, Ret Paladin. If we compare them, so here we go. So home dude over here, Gene Pierce, is he Ret Paladin? I just want to double check. Yep, so Ret Paladin, all three of them. He never Divine Stormed at all. That's a huge issue, especially if we look at Gene. How much DPS did you do to ads? 9% of your damage was ads. Dan, you did half of your damage was ads, and Sath, half your damage was ads. So Gene, get it together, bud. You're not DPSing the ads. You're not even using Divine Hammer. I assume that's a talent. Truth be told, I'm not sure. Crusader Strike. Dan's not using Crusader Strike. Again, I don't know the rotation for Retribution Paladins, but I can see here, is there a reason why? And as a raid leader, I can ask and go, hey, Dan, why are you not using Crusader Strike, but the other two rep paladins in my made up, obviously this is LFR, but in my raid are using it, and we can see here that, Templar's Verdict, they're all using it about the same. It's number 5, number 4 for Sath here. But yeah, we can see here, what's going on. Is there something that, boom, Gene here isn't using potions at all. And we can see here that neither one of these guys are using any type of neck enchant, and we're picking this up very easily, just by looking at this. So that is your damage done. A very quick and easy, dirty breakdown of who is doing what. And the same thing for healing. So we can see here that your Blood Death Knight, clearly best healer in the game, is number 2 on the healing charts in LFR. And again, same thing. So we can go these two Mistweavers, we can compare them, and we can see Lahiri, whatever, is completely not at all touching Vivify. I assume that's a talent. I honestly, again, don't know, don't play one, but that is something that he's not using. He's also barely touching Enveloping Mist. It's number 8. Gusts of Mist. Again, big difference. Renewing Mist is number 4 for both of them. Soothing Mist. He's barely touching Soothing Mist. Essence Font. He's spamming the shit out of Essence Font. And then you can see here, Effuse, he's not even using it. And you can very easily, again, see who is using what. You can also see here, and we'll pick on the Resto Druid because he is the highest here as far as healing goes. What were his targets? Well, he is dumping heals into the tanks. And we can go through here and we can see, who, again, tanks. This guy right here. So we look at the other Mistweaver. He dumped a little bit of damage, a little bit of healing into the tanks, but he is healing the raid. He is the only one here that's healing the raid. And actually, let me go back here because, yeah, so we can see here that this Resto Druid is not healing there. He's not even touching. I mean, come on. A Wild Growth or something. He's barely doing it. Yeah, he's only using Wild Growth like he did 300k healing to me. Come on, man. Again, you'll see here, I didn't really take any damage, but you can compare it and go, okay, who is healing what? Should this Resto Druid be healing the takes? Depending on how your composition is set up, maybe not. But again, same thing. You can go through here and you can compare things. Very easy to do so. So, enemy damage taken. This one, like I was mentioning before, this is my preferred way of seeing who is switching to ads and who is not. So, Abyss Stalkers in the Mistress Sizine fight, gotta switch to them. And we can see here that if we hover over it, Sath and Tekle are blowing these ads up. They are murdering them. But you go all the way down. Some of these dudes here, and I can't speak, aren't touching these ads at all. They're not even trying. They're below the healers as far as damage done on it, and that's really sad. And I think we might be picking up some logs. I think that's why it's changing here. If I had to take a guess, because I think, yep, we're picking up from the world quest down there. So I apologize. Like I said, we're doing this live, so we'll Bill O'Reilly it. But you can see here Abyss Stalkers that some people aren't switching to them. Some people are just staying on the boss. And we can also see here some of the healers are actually DPSing. So thank you for that. So that's enemy damage taken. Deaths. Now this is an interesting one because if we go back here and I want to pick on, and you guys may have seen that, the two Warlocks, because we look at Dot Matrix and we look at Purplish. Pretty pitiful. Purplish, 138k damage, DPS rather, and Dot Matrix 443k. I mean, you guys are not doing great compared to 1.5 million, one in a third million, 900k, 900k, 800k, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But if we go to deaths, we can see, well, this is why they did shitty damage. I think there is still huge issues, and we'll get to that here in a second. There are huge issues with, especially I want to say Purplish's rotation, but they both die 3 minutes and 15 seconds into the fight. Now, again, like I've mentioned before, you can see where these guys died. So if we mouse over it here, you can see that both of these guys got killed by a Devour Hole. Big Shark came up, you throw ink into it. Well, these guys weren't paying attention. They got chomped. They were dead. So the reason why I like to go through these deaths here is because I have been on both sides of the complaint train, where I've had tanks go, I'm not getting any fucking heals, and I just died. Or you can see where healers are saying, dude, I'm healing the shit out of this guy, and then he died. And I can go and I can look here and we can say, okay, Dot Matrix, you were at full health, dude. There's nothing that hurt you except you getting eaten by the shark. Purplish here. Again, same thing. You were at half health, maybe something hit you, and then you got devoured whole. Insta-death. So that doesn't leave a lot of room for excuses, because you can see here, dead 3 minutes into the fight. So dispels, there's nothing to look at, but I do like to see that. If you look at something like Demonic Inquisition, for example, where healers do have to dispel, but not immediately. They want to control when they dispel it. Or something like Xavius. Or I can't think of anything else where, you may set up a specific rotation for dispels. Xavius was a good example. That's what my guild did, where to control the nightmare or whatever bar, that, you said, okay, you're going to dispel first, I'll dispel second, he'll dispel third, she'll dispel fourth, and we'll go in that rotation. Damage taken. So this one shows you how much damage each raider is taking. So if you want to see who is soaking up a lot of your heals, well, very clearly your tanks right here, the first and fourth listed here are taking up the majority of your heals. It's embarrassing and actually kind of cool that your two warlocks took more damage the entirety of the fight over the Guardian Druid. But you can see here, if we hover over it, what's hurting this dude. So, we can see here, melee's obviously hitting him quite a bit, Burden of Pain, the Devouring Maw, etc., etc., etc. And we can go through here and we can go, what's hurting this guy, what's hurting Dot Matrix, etc. Now, you can dig a little bit deeper. So if we look at Purplish here, you got hit by Devour Hole. Obviously, that's what killed him. Did 95 million. I mean, it's insta-death. You can't get hit by that. But Purplish, you got hit by Slicing Tornadoes. Why? They're completely avoidable, especially in LFR, where they're spread out by default. You got hit by Crashing Wave. That's completely avoidable. You got hit by Thundering Shock. Now, I want to show you guys something. If we look at, and I know they're here, I'm looking for a... Okay, so if we look at Dan Harry here, he has the Consuming Hunger debuff. It's, the Murloc thing latches onto your head. It says you've been Murlocked by whatever. It's attached to you. You got to knock it off with the jellyfish explosion. Well, Purplish, you're taking the Thundering Shock, which is from the jellyfish. Where is your Consuming Hunger? You didn't have it. So now not only are you taking damage that you don't necessarily need to take, but you're also getting stunned for X amount of seconds and not DPSing because you're not paying attention. And you can see here, getting hit by tornadoes, etc., etc. You look at... I'm trying to think if there's anything else. A lot of these guys that are getting hit by tornadoes, and you can very easily see what's killing you, what's hurting you, what's soaking up mana for the healers. So we look at debuff uptime. So this was an interesting one, and I saw this one before the video. because I want to point something out to you guys. Debuff uptime is convenient if you want to very quickly look at a player's rotation. If you want to, for example, see what debuffs a player has up, both on them, as you can see, temporal displacement, because either myself or I think it was me, bloodlusted or whatever, alter time, whatever the hell it is. But you can also see here that Home Dude had agony up for a minute 30 seconds. Now, Warlocks, correct me if I'm wrong, and I know that I'm correct on this. You can keep agony up all the time. You don't need any type of item or any soul shard or anything. You had Siphon Life up for 45 seconds. You had Drain Soul up for 32 seconds. Isn't that your main filler spell? You had Seed of Corruption up for 4 seconds. Something's not right here. But if we look at Dot Matrix, again, same thing. He had 3 minutes of agony, 3 minutes of Siphon Life. His Unstable Affliction was way higher. Seed of Corruption, well, nothing. But you can see here that there is obviously a difference. Drain Soul, he had a minute and 9 seconds of that. So you guys can see here that very clearly, Purplish, he stands in crap. He died to something that's completely avoidable. His rotation is poor, and if we look, I don't know if it collected it, but he's 888, so his item level is low. He stands in crap. He is not a good raider. And I'm sorry if Purplish, you ever watch this video, but you need to pick it up, dude. You are performing poorly. If you were in my raid, you'd be sad. You probably wouldn't have a raid spot. But you can see here what's going on. You can see, is there something that me as a player or me as a raid leader that I need to be mindful of? Do we have, if ads are getting DPS down very quickly, who, is the balance druid here? Is he using, some type of AoE spell? Is he debuffing them? If people are complaining about something going through here and seeing, okay, is something just weird? What's going on here? And you can see that with the debuff uptime. Damage taken by. This one, I love this one, because this one very easily, if you want to see what is hurting a specific person, you can go through and do damage taken. And that's cool, whatever. But what I really love is damage taken by, because it groups it by the actual spell. So we can see here, Devour Whole. We've already gone through that. You guys need to pick that up. Slicing Tornadoes. This is completely avoidable. We talked about that. Completely avoidable by everyone in LFR. It should be completely avoidable by everyone, but Gold Kappa, you are getting hit by tornadoes. Sithorus, hit. Purplish, hit. Superius, hit. The Resto Druid, hit. You guys, come on. And I know you guys can dodge it because you don't see Frisky Bear up there. Because I didn't get hit by a fucking tornado. Because they're avoidable. Come on, guys. Burden of Pain. Now, this right here is interesting. And this is where I tell you guys as leaders, as raid leaders, as guild leaders, as group leaders, that you need to understand the fight. I know for a fact that Burden of Pain went out on the raid. I can back that statement up by going, more than 2 people got hit by Burden of Pain. Burden of Pain goes on one tank, the other tank immediately taunts off. If the Burden of Pain tank is getting hit by the boss, it does damage to the entire raid. One of you tanks did not taunt. And you put out, 2 million damage times 23 people. A lot of damage. You're putting out, 50 million-ish damage to the raid because you guys aren't doing your job correctly. So, and again, we can go through here and we can even compare things. Like I said, you want to be able to compare things. Okay, Thundering Shock. Who's getting hit by it? Gene, you got hit by it. Gold Cabby, you got hit by it. Lahiri, you got hit by it. But we know that the Thundering Shock gets the Consuming Hunger off of you. So, if we look at Gene, Gold, and Lahiri, Consuming Hunger. I don't see a Gene. I don't see Lahiri. And I don't see, what was the other one? A Gold Kappa. Gold Kappa, were you in there, baby? You were not there. So you guys are getting hit by shit that is completely avoidable because you're not paying attention. Befouling Ink, 0. Come on, dude. Yeah, like 2 million damage. You're not soaking it at that point. You're just not paying attention. Crashing wave, completely avoidable. You guys suck. Life tap, warlocks, whatever. Do your thing. Water blast. I mean, technically you can like CC, you can disorient, you can stun, you can do all that stuff to the ads. Come on, you guys can do that. Light of the Martyr, not bad. Probably a cast or two. So you guys can very easily see here who's taking damage by what spell. You know, who's getting hit by tornadoes? You guys got to pick that crap up. You know, where are the points of failure within your raid? So we looked at damage taken by spell. You can look at friendly fire. And we can go, who is hurting the raid? So more than likely, if I had to guess, it looks like Saphiri's here, the Blood Death Knight, had Burden of Pain on him. Sanavi, whatever, the Guardian Druid, did not taunt in time, and he put out a lot more damage onto the raid. In fact, I mean, that's quite a bit of damage onto the raid from Burden of Pain, which means that, and this is why, again, I'm telling you guys, you should understand what the debuffs, what the buffs, what the fight entails, because looking at it initially, unless I'm reading this incorrectly, and I'm fairly certain I'm not because I look at this every week, you would say, okay, the Blood Death Knight sucks. But that's not the case. It is a debuff put on a tank, and the other tank needs to pick it up. If the other tank is not picking it up in this case, I thought we had our, because we move. We want to have our member on head right there. If we know that the debuff goes out on the Blood Death Knight, and if the Guardian Druid isn't picking it up, then the Blood Death Knight is damaging the raid. And very clearly, I mean, he put out quite a bit more, 3 times as much. Guardian Druid, you got to pick that crap up. And go through here. Okay, Cthulhu, he did life tap, pretty standard. Life tap, whatever. So we can look at, we did friendly fire. We can do health potions and warlock health stones. Surprise, surprise, LFR, nobody did it. But you can see who's using it. Same thing with interrupts. If you have an interrupt rotation, you can see who's doing what. Buff uptime. Now, this one is really cool, and, and I don't know if I mentioned it at the beginning of the video. This is the second time recording this video because I'm an idiot and again didn't have my mic turned on. But you can see here something that really stood out if we look at the Guardian Druid. Sanavi, whatever. One thing that really stands out here, because I play a Guardian Druid, starting from the bottom up, you had Survival Instincts up 1 time, 6 seconds. Dude, by default, you get 2 of them, in a fight. Use both of them. Stampeding Roar, you had up 1 time. Dude, it's on a minute cooldown. You should be talented for that. Frenzy Regen, you had it for 10 seconds of a 5-minute fight. What are you doing, dude? That is Frenzy Regeneration is huge. Rage of the Sleeper at 30 seconds. I don't remember the cooldown or the how long it lasts. I want to say it may be 30 seconds. So you used Rage of the Sleeper 1 time the entirety of the fight. And I'm going to double check this after I record this video because I want to check for you guys. You used a 90-second cooldown once. Unacceptable. You had Iron Fur up 1 minute and 56 seconds into a 4 or 5 minute fight. What are you doing? You have ads hitting you all the time. From the time you start the fight to the time you end the fight, you should have Iron Fur up because you're either taking the boss or you're taking the ads. What are you doing? And you guys can go through here and you can see, are things not right? Are the tanks not keeping... And I've used this in heroic instances where, tanks just aren't using cooldowns or they aren't using damage mitigation. And it's like, dude, you're not even using it. Like, you can go through here and see, okay, did... we saw here Potion and Prolonged Power. He used 1 of them. So he didn't pre-pot, but he used 1 of them. And you go through here and you can see, okay, is anybody pre-potting? What are they doing? What is their buff uptime? Etc., etc. So, threat, obviously threat meter, not too worried about that. Enemy damage taken, we already went through that, I want to say. Enemy damage, yep, we already went through that one. Ores and void zones. So these are things that are avoidable. Slicing Tornado, and again, damage taken by spell is pretty close to the same thing. But Slicing Tornado, you can see here, Devouring Maw, Thundershock, Befouling Ink, etc., etc. We already did interrupts, reses. He only resed one target. And again, we added a couple of these. Cooldowns, you can see here. And this one's nice. Guardian Druid, you used Frenzy Regen 4 times. So I think I said twice, maybe. So 4 times the entirety of that fight. Dude, it's like a 12 or 15 second cooldown. And you get 3 of them. What the fuck are you doing? You used 1 Survival Instincts. You didn't use any bark skin. You didn't use anything else, really. We look at the healer. He used Iron Bark 3 times. Cool. No Tranquility. Why not? Revival, he used it twice, but you couldn't fit in 1 Tranquility. He used Divine Shield. Maybe he was going to die. He used Unending Resolve. Awesome. Cool. Cthulhu, thank you for actually trying to preserve your life. Divine Protection, Divine Shield. So you can see here what is and isn't being used. If you as a raid leader or, like your healing officer in my case is calling out healing cooldowns. Hey, pop this, use this, don't use this, we'll heal through it or whatever. You can see this stuff. So what I want to leave you guys with is this. If we go back to damage done, what I want to leave you guys with this, and to answer Blacklist, to answer your question, or to really to drill down to what I want you to do, I want you guys as raid leaders to do, is this. Details is going to provide you the information, but it's a 2-step process. One is you have to be able to very quickly and effectively and efficiently get your data. I've talked about in previous videos of stepping back. You wipe to a boss, you wipe to Mistress, and you go, okay guys, instead of like trying to get one more pull, let's take 2 minutes. Okay, let's figure out what's going on. Well, damage to the ads is low. We had a couple people die. We know that healing's going out, so they're dying to stupid stuff. And here's the deal. And you can go through and you can see, okay, people aren't switching to ads. We can see that nobody's using health potions. We can see that Burden of Pain was a big issue. Whatever. You can go through here, and I do need to clean it up, but you can go through here and see what's going on. But you need to be able to effectively, efficiently get to that data. You gotta set it up. That's the first part. And then you need to be able to read it. And you need to go, okay, why did Purplish do so little DPS? Well, he died 3 minutes into the fight. But his rotation's also not correct. He's not doing a lot of things. Zero or Zerstoren, whatever. I don't know, I keep calling him Zero. Not switching to ads. Stuff like that. You got to be able to read the data, and that's the second part. It doesn't matter that the data's here and you can get to it if you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. If you have no clue what you're looking at, then this data doesn't mean anything, and you are not in a position where you need to be making those calls. So with that, guys, I want to say to Blacklist and to all of you that have watched these videos who have asked questions, who want to ask questions, one, I encourage you to do so. I would much rather this channel be this right here, where you guys ask questions, where you guys, and I've gotten you guys where you've said, I don't want to bother you, or I don't want to, my situation is unique or special, or, it's so inconsequential. No, it's not. Dude, that's what this channel is about, is me as a leader helping you guys. Do not hesitate to ask. Please ask. I'd much rather do that than any other video on this channel. Thank you to those of you that have asked questions. I love doing it. You guys know the deal. Like, subscribe. They encourage me. They motivate me so much more than you guys know to continue to make this content. If you like this video, let me know in the comment section down below. If you don't like the video, let me know. So how can I improve if you guys aren't going to tell me what the deal is? And until next time, I'll see ya.